legend of General Monk. Introduction. The legend of General Monk is a historical narrative that tells the story of a legendary soldier tasked with the monumental duty of exiling a tribe of malevolent beings known as Yacub's Albinoids. These Albinoids, created by Yacub, were a source of chaos and destruction, prompting the need for their removal from the holy city of Mecca. General Monk, a name that has varied over time, became the hero of this tale, leading an arduous journey to drive these beings out and restore peace. Below is the detailed explanation of the legend, followed by a quiz to test your understanding. Origins of Yacub's Albinoids. It took Yacub 600 years to manufacture his tribe of pale, evil Albinoids on the Isle of Pelan, Patmos, and every imagination of their heart and all of their actions were wicked continuously. The evilness of the Albinoids not only affected themselves, but also affected the other peoples of the world. Yacub's Albinoids entered the holy city of Mecca in the year 9000 because Yacub taught them that Mecca was their home. Once, back in the city, it took only 6 months for Yacub's Albinoids to cause chaos and war among the Ebonoid people. The king's decree. The king of the Ebonoid people realized that it was Yacub's Albinoids who were causing all the trouble, and the king made a decree to exile Yacub's evil Albinoids from amongst them. The king put his strongest, toughest, most unyielding soldier in charge of exiling Yacub's evil Albinoids from amongst the Ebonoid people. This legendary soldier's name was General Monk. Although his name has been spelled variously over time as General Muck, General Muck, and General Muck. General Monk begins the exile. General Monk rounded up all of Yacub's evil Albinoids there in the east and took them down to the edge of the desert where they were stripped of everything, stripped of the sciences we taught them, stripped of our books they stole from us, and stripped of their clothing. But lambskin aprons were put on them to hide their nakedness. General Monk stripped them of everything and left them with nothing but their language of telling, lies, and stealing. The journey across the desert. General Monk put Yacub's evil Albinoids in chains and put cable tows around their necks in preparation to drive them out of the land of light, across the burning hot sands of the desert, into the mountains, hills, and caves of beasts in what is now called Europe. General Monk rode a white horse, and he carried a high-powered rifle and a sharp sword of light. The other soldiers in General Monk's army rode on camels, and they carried long, sharp swords in their hand. Members of General Monk's army were Ebonoid people who had fell victim to the evil schemes of Yacub's Albinoids, so this is how they got them back for the hard times they received from Yacub's evil Albinoids. The harsh conditions. General Monk and his army made Yacub's evil Albinoids walk every step of the way as they crossed the hot, burning sands of the desert. General Monk would make Yacub's evil Albinoids run when the sun was high in the sky at high noon. Yacub's evil Albinoids would jump up and down as their feet would burn on the hot sand. Ask an Ebonoid mason, when he crossed the hot sand, were you walking or riding? If he says he was walking, then he is a fool, because he was riding. He was riding horseback. He was riding camelback. It was the Albinoid had on the cable tow and apron and was walking the white sands 6,000 years ago. A lot of Yacub's evil Albinoids died from exhaustion, dehydration, and sunburn in the desert. General Monk expected all of the Albinoids to die when he was running them out of the east, but those fools lived, brother. They lived. At night, General Monk would make Yacub's evil Albinoids walk. They did not stop, day or night. If one of the Albinoids fell to the sand, General Monk would take them by their head and slay them right there on the spot. Man or woman, it did not matter. They did not stop, they did not take a break. The Albinoids had to walk every step of the way until they reached an oasis 1,100 miles from where they started. The first oasis. At this oasis, General Monk allowed the Albinoids to rest, eat, and drink some water, for they had another 1,100 miles to go before they reached their destination. This was the first million-man march, when General Monk made 1,000,000 Albinoids march across the burning hot sands. After reaching the second oasis, the whole group of Albinoids was acting savage like animals. General Monk had covered 2,200 miles and was in the land of what they now call Turkey. Once General Monk let the Albinoids loose, the Albinoids ran wild up into the caves and hillsides. They tore off their apron, walked on all fours, and lived a beastly way of life. Genial Monk guards the border. General Monk and his army stayed there in Asia Minor Turkey, the Straits of the Dardanelles, to guard the border to make sure that the evil Albinoids did not try to enter back into the land of peace. Any time one of the evil Albinoids would try to ease out of the caves and try to make it back to the land of light, General Monk would cut off their head. General Monk's army would become the Turks, and after a while, the Turks would go across the border just to take their heads off. Any Albinoid they caught trying to come back across the border, whop! Off went their head. Life in the caves. General Monk told his followers or army that because they are the ones who fell victim to the devil's tricks and did kill and hurt each other, they must pay for such actions by sitting down in Asia Minor and keeping the devil bottled up in the cold caves and hillsides of Europe. Every time a devil would try to ease out of the caves, off their head went. After a while, the Turks used to go across the border just to take their heads. Many of devils went deeper into the caves where they killed animals who lived there and ate them raw, thus moved in their caves. The caves of the animals were not tall enough for them to stand upright, so they began to bend down. After a while, they got used to it, and their arms began to grow to balance their back. Hair grew all over their body because it was cold and nature clothed them with a coat of hair like the animals. The cavemen ate all the smaller things found and cast their bones outside the caves where jackals, or what we now call dogs, lay proud. The bigger animals began to move closer to the caves to eat the caveman, for there was no food for them to eat. Adaptation and survival. The devils ate all the food up from the bigger animals, so these became the hunter of man. The jackals, who were always outside waiting for bones, became the white man's best friend, because every time a big beast would come near the cave, they would bark, warning the caveman of danger. Some devils lived in trees and other uncivilized places. The dog soon became one of the caveman man's family and now lived indoors. The dog was to watch the caves while the man was out hunting for food. The messenger teaches the Caucasian man and woman were walking on all fours using stone tools, eating raw meat with blood, running out, and eating their dead. While the man was out hunting, the dogs used to lick and smell the woman's womb, which the woman liked because of its stinging sensation. She began to love the dog because of the attention it gave her while the man was away. The caveman learned the way of the dog and began to lick and suck the womb. The messenger also added that the dog began to have sex with the woman, which was very easy for them, being that the woman walked on all fours like the dogs themselves. The spread of disease. The dogs began planting their seeds in the woman, causing the woman to birth mutations. The messenger says these mutations were white babies which had tails and the color of dog's hair eyes. Their hair was blonde at first, All types of disease originated at this period, such as the common disease syphilis, which comes from dogs, as any doctor can tell you if he knew the American Medical Journal. If the disease comes from a dog-type life, this tells us to ask ourselves how many of us come to get it. The cave woman was filled up with syphilis and all kinds of deadly germs, which spread and spread. When Musa came to the border and entered the mainland, he was unable to go up into the caves because filth and waste covered the land, and he was unable to enter to perform his said duty. Musa had to use the pig to eat the filth and waste before he could go in. Note, the history of Musa shall tell you the complete ordeal of the prophet. This lesson shall deal with a certain portion of history. Thanksgiving, symbolism. Thanksgiving, which is a white race holiday, the messenger teaches that this holiday is all symbolic to what took place in General Monk's time. The white man tries to trick us into believing that when he came to America, they met the Indians with gifts. But the white man, when he came to America or the New World, he went to look for food. When they saw a turkey, it reminded them of the Turks who wore the red fez with a tassel hanging down their heads, which was loose meat upon the turkey head. This is why they named the bird turkey. The white man would take this bird and chop off its head. It was symbolic to what General Monk's followers, the Turks, would do to them. This turkey was General Monk's followers. Asia Minor was called Turkey because the Turks that had the key locked them up in the caves and hillsides of Europe. The devil was not really actually led out of the caves until 1492. The opening of the New World allowed them to come to complete ownership. The biblical connection to General Monk. And then in the Bible, where it talks about an angel who had a flaming sword guarding paradise, it is taken from the story of General Monk, who had a sword of light, a lightsaber, and was protecting the holy city from Yacub's evil Albinoids. This is what the Ebonoids did to the Albinoids. This is what the gods did to the devils. General Monk and his army and their descendants kept the Albinoids confined in the caves of Europe for 2,000 years. Within 1,000 years after they had gotten there, the Albinoids were on all fours and could not stand upright. The Albinoids' adaptation. Yacub's Albinoids tamed the wolves and dogs to live in the caves with them, and after some time, the dog held a high place among their family, becoming their best friend. When the Albinoids were free from the caves, they created a holiday called Thanksgiving, which is symbolic to what took place during General Monk's time. The turkey is symbolic of the Turks who wore red fez with a tassel hanging down their heads, which was loose meat upon the turkey's head. This is why the Albinoids named the bird turkey. The Albinoid would take this bird and chop off its head as a ritual form of revenge, in the same way that General Monk and his army of Turks would cut the heads off of Albinoids. Thanks for watching. Peace to the gods. Now let's see how much you remember with a short multiple-choice quiz. Quiz 1. What did Yacub create over 600 years on the Isle of Pelan, Patmos? A. Ebonoids. B. Albinoids. C. Turk soldiers. D. General Monk. 2. How long did it take for Yacub's Albinoids to cause chaos in Mecca? A. 1 year. B. 6 months. C. 1 month. D. 3 months. 3. Who realized that Yacub's Albinoids were causing trouble in Mecca? A. General Monk. B. Yacub. C. The king of the Ebonoid people. D. The Ebonoid Masons. 4. What did the king decree about Yacub's Albinoids? A. They should be welcomed. B. They should be exiled. C. They should be educated. D. They should be imprisoned. 5. What was General Monk tasked with? A. Educating the Albinoids. B. Exiling the Albinoids. C. Protecting the Albinoids. D. Negotiating with the Albinoids. 6. What were Yacub's Albinoids stripped of by General Monk? A. Their homes. B. Their languages. C. Their sciences and books. D. Their lives. 7. What symbolized the nakedness of the Albinoids? A. Their hair. B. Their skin. C. Lambskin aprons. D. Their eyes. 8. How were the Albinoids prepared to be driven out? A. With food and water. B. With weapons. C. With chains and cable tows. D. With new clothes. 9. What animal did General Monk ride? A. Camel. B. Horse. C. Elephant. D. Lion. 10. How did General Monk's army travel? A. On foot. B. By boat. C. On camels. D. By carriages. 11. What did General Monk's army carry? A. Rifles and swords. B. Shields and spears. C. Bows and arrows. D. Hammers and axes. 12. How did the Albinoids travel across the desert? A. By riding animals. B. By walking every step. C. By flying. D. By swimming. 13. What happened to Albinoids who fell in the desert? A. They were rescued. B. They were left behind. C. They were slain. D. They were revived. 14. Where did the Albinoids rest for the first time? A. At an oasis. B. In a cave. C. At a village. D. In a forest. 15. What did the Albinoids do upon reaching Turkey? A. Built homes. B. Ran wild into caves. C. Formed a community. D. Attacked the locals. 16. What was General Monk's weapon of choice? A. A flaming sword. B. A high-powered rifle. C. A sharp sword of light. D. A spear. 17. Who did General Monk's army become? A. The Turks. B. The Greeks. C. The Romans. D. The Egyptians. 18. What did the Albinoids create as a holiday? A. Christmas. B. Thanksgiving. C. Easter. D. Halloween. 19. What does the turkey symbolize? A. The Albinoids. B. The Ebonoids. C. The Turks. D. The Ebonoid Masons. 20. What did General Monk's army do to Albinoids trying to return? A. Welcomed them. B. Cut off their heads. C. Imprisoned them. D. Educated them. Enjoy our content? Hit us up on Cash App $Jacotra1 or scan the QR code on your screen. Peace.